continuing American dilemma. It defines us and it is systemic. And if we are going to change America, it's not just about what we are against, it is about what we are for. Let me tell you, love always overcomes hate.
Say that again. Say that again.
Unity has power. It is a trick of the enemy. The oldest play in the book is deception by division. If the enemy can keep us divided, y'all know magic. You know when you're watching over here, they're doing this over there. A nation, a people, a movement divided against itself cannot stand. You all have begun something, but the fight is just beginning. My son is here, and I want to thank this generation. You give me hope. I hope that I gave the generation before me hope. You give me hope. This is the beginning of a revolution. And the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live. We have to do it together with the police, with the officials. I'm looking for the yeses, not the nos. I want to know who's going to join the fight. Who's going to stand with me? Who's going to make a difference? Who's going to march? We got to keep going. It doesn't matter what the dividers say. It's what the uniters say. Together, we are stronger. Brothers and sisters, this is your time. Do not squander it. Do not let these lives be lost in vain. Make a difference. Stand on principle. Stand on what you know is right. The ancestors are watching and guarding. We have greatness flowing in our veins. We are kings. We are queens. Rise up and be who you are. Claim your place in history right now. Black lives matter. Your lives matter. Let's get it done. I love you, brothers and sisters.
What's your name, sir?
Jarvis Bailey.
Jarvis Bailey? Reverend?
What's your name, Jarvis Bailey?
Vote for president.
Those were words from Reverend Bailey. Let's give him a round of applause.
I'm extending that clap. Yes, 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 yes. Unity, unity, unity. Welcome all. Welcome to another edition of Spirituality Night Live. Tonight, I am honored to have the Reverend Jarvis Bailey. Thank you so much for coming here today. That was beautiful. That was great. When I heard about you being there and they told me about this, and some friends just called me and were speaking and talked about how great you motivated the crowd. And in the back shot with so many people there, beautiful. Thank you for going there to do that. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I was just moved by that part just to say and express my gratitude for doing that part. Thank you so much for doing that.
It was all kind of spur of the moment.
Yeah.
The spirit moved.
Right on,
Yeah.
right on. All right. Well, you all, yes. Well, who we have tonight is the Reverend Jarvis Bailey, friend from years. I've known Jarvis for, I don't know, 20, 30 years, something like that here in this area. To tell you a little bit more about Jarvis. Jarvis Bailey, originally from, I had to check the pronunciation on this earlier, Accomack.
That's right.
All right. Accomack County on Virginia's beautiful Eastern Shore. He earned degrees from Virginia Tech, Duke University, and ODU, Old Dominion University. He spent most of his professional life as a bivocational minister, serving in the clergy for over 30 years as a chaplain, army and hospital, a youth and senior pastor, and as a church planter. During those 30 years, he worked in technology, education, healthcare, and real estate. Currently, he lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where he served as a member of the elected school board. He's also the assistant principal at Washington District Elementary School. Man, you busy.
That's right.
Westmoreland County, Virginia, and the pastor at Shiloh United Methodist Church, Caroline County, Virginia. A year ago, he started a new venture as a realtor with the proud motto, Jarvis Bailey loves real estate. He's been married since 1985 to his high school sweetheart, Monica, a middle school counselor. They have three adult children, Amari, Matthew, and Skylar.
Yeah, I have adult attention deficit,
Okay.
so it is what it is.
Okay. Thanks again for being here, Jarvis. This was all last minute, and you just kind of said yes to me on it yesterday. So we didn't have very much time to plan for everything. I'm gonna have some questions for him, and we're just gonna just let it go, just between the two of us, and address a little bit what's going on here out in the world. Of course, you know about race inequality, but and then also bring it back home to our spiritual roots. So, how are you?
I'm doing great. I have said on a number of occasions since this kind of all happened, since the death of George Floyd, that I have never been clearer about my purpose than I am right now. And so I am, I believe, living the fullest expression of myself.
Okay.
So that's a pretty sweet spot to be in.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
actually.
Yes. Um, I have similar things because I feel this responsibility to do
Mhm.
something at the same time that I felt called to speak about things of a spiritual nature, and then
Mhm.
boom, in this mix.
Right,
And weird thing was I've been vacant on Facebook for like 4 years, and
right,
this
right.
and just because of the climate of things I got off, and now I picked this time to come back. So I'm trying to be a little bit more
Right.
responsible on how I'm on social media.
Yep.
Sometimes I fail, but I do try in my heart to be a little bit better about it.
Well, the thing about a crisis is that it has the ability to move you from your comfort zone to your creative zone.
Mm,
And so a lot of the activity that you are seeing, myself included, just comes from uh, the nature of where we are. That crisis, it can do lots of things. It can destroy us, or it can refine us, or move us into a different space. And that's what's kind of happened to me, that um, all of that energy has moved me away from my comfort zone, but not into discomfort, but rather into a creative space where I can take that energy and do something with it. It's kind of like the eagle uses the turbulence of the wind to fly higher, right?
okay,
I mean,
okay.
they like stormy weather. If you go out and you see eagles in stormy weather, they're using the currents and the turbulence to get lift. And so,
How
you
about
and
that?
I are doing that. I mean, these times require certain things, and there are certain people who can launch out in this kind of situation and use it to make a difference.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, making that kind of difference. What called you out that day to go speak to the young people out there? Which, thank you again for doing.
Well, the chief of I serve with several others on a community advisory panel to the chief of police, to the Fredericksburg City Police, and things were happening. And he actually went that day to make an apology. And he asked the citizens on that panel to come and support him that day. He did ask us if we had anything to say. We would be more than welcome to say it. But the mayor was there. I think she may have spoken. I can't remember. Other council members were there. So I was really just there in a supportive role for that moment in history with the chief and the other city leaders. I serve on the school. I was going to say just the school board, but it is an elected official position. But when the mayor was there and city council and the chief of police, I felt like, hey, this was their moment to speak. And I just felt a certain energy that day, and I was moved to speak.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah.
Um, I like your message that I took from it is about unity,
Hmm.
and well, forget my thoughts. What were you really trying to convey to the people?
Uh, at that moment, um, I was speaking really about uh, the necessity for our young people to continue to finish this civil rights movement. I mean, but this has been going on for a long time, right? And I saw in their eyes, the young people. I've said this to them. I believe that they're going to finish the work, and if they don't finish it, they're going to make significant strides to closing the gap. And I know the difficulties of uh, when you're trying to get something significant done. And I know that one of the oldest tricks in the book is to cause confusion. And so I was really speaking about unity in a general sense. I mean, we only get to the conclusion together. That's everybody, right? I mean, police, city officials, because this is a systemic problem that has to be addressed at many levels. So it's going to take all of us in general. But in that moment, I was trying to say to my young people in the movement, don't get discouraged and don't get distracted, because there's going to be a lot of folks trying to confuse you in the group. There are going to be a lot of forces around you. And so I primarily was really speaking to the young people listening about staying together and finishing the work, and just being on guard and harnessing that power of unity. Yeah.
You know, that message, in my opinion, could be extended um, further. That the part about not being distracted, because I'm afraid that's going to happen, and it's happening a little bit already.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of people who think it was all over and done with, as far as the progressive movement with civil rights in the
Right.
'60s, like
Right.
we gotten someplace,
Right.
and so it's important that it's not that it doesn't get lost with
Hmm.
all of the people on the extreme ends
Hmm.
of things causing other confusion, or other
Right.
people bringing confusion. So
Right.
thank you for pointing that out, because as you said, I do believe too that something is going to happen. It is different this time. I mean,
Hmm.
and all of the older people that were part of the civil rights that are still here with us today feel the same thing too. So
Hmm.
yes, and they have the energy and the passion to stay the long haul, and
Yeah, they
and
do.
push it in and do it, and come up with creative ways to disrupt systems and expectations for
Right.
other people's campaigns
Right.
and stuff. It's quite amazing how
Yeah.
they
Well,
can.
I talked about being clear about my role and my purpose. One of the things that I see for me and hopefully for other people in my generation is to serve as a guidepost for these young folks, to serve as a protector, to give them guidance, to help them distinguish between friend and foe, to help them understand that a movement like this is both strategic and tactical at the same time, to give them wisdom, to talk to them about spirituality, and to give them a platform and open doors. Um, that's kind of my role. It's our movement, but they're providing such wonderful energy. And if you look at movements in the past, it's the energy of the young folks that get things going. And so uh, they're out. I can't march every night, but they're out there. I can show up occasionally and march with them and talk with them. Um, that's kind of my role. So
Right. You're right. I guess time just went by, and I realized that I'm not on that younger side anymore. So you're exactly right. But I have a calling in another way to make an impact and to
hmm
do something. And I find myself here tonight with you trying to do that. Um, what do you think that the young people need to do to continue this fight through it because it's going to take more time. And I think last week I had spoke about just the bus thing back in the 60s, that it took a year
Mhm.
before we could get, before that came, boycotting for a year. So what is it that you think we need to pass to the young people to be able to stay in the long fight, and even to recommend some strategies so that it's a little bit more planned, and also to separate themselves from the negative side of it, which I want to talk about later,
Mhm.
because I do know of some extremists
Mhm.
that are making it a little bit hard for the weight of the movement to matter.
Mhm.
So
Well, um, I would say this. Again, I'm really clear about my message and my calling. And so I don't focus so much on what the young folks should do. My message is more to my generation,
okay,
to follow me. I've encouraged people to go and talk to the young folks, to love and respect them, to help them take flight. So they're not at a point right now, in my mind, and I don't know that they should be, where I can teach them anything about what to do. What I can do and what I encourage my generation to do is to be with them, to earn their respect, and to give them guidance through your actions. Um, if you show up with these young folks in this movement and try to start telling them things, because they've said it to me. One of the things they said to me, if your generation knew so much, why are we still fighting this fight?
mm,
Right? So
mm,
what? I mean, let's just keep it real. So I have taken the approach that I want to hear what they have to say. Um, I want to earn their respect. I want them to know that more than anything, that I love and respect them, and that they give me hope. And if I can form a relationship with them, then they listen. Okay, now I have an opportunity to say, take a breath. Let's do some reflection. But they're very guarded. So when my generation shows up, you should be doing this, you're going to get immediate pushback.
okay,
So my message is to those who are 40, 50, 60, and older, is to uh, hang out with them, get to know these young people, use their energy to give you hope and refreshment. And as you build that relationship with them, they will begin to listen, because we do have lessons to teach, right? We have lessons to teach, but respect is given, it's earned, and it's given, and it's a reciprocal kind of thing. And I've been able to speak to them because I didn't show up with, you should do it this way. I embraced them because I was excited, because they were like, this is enough is enough. And I'm like, yeah, enough is enough. I'm with you on that. And they were getting it done. So I'm like, well, you guys are doing something that I haven't been able to do. So let me harness that energy. They can teach us some things, right? So my message really is not so much about what I can say to the kids. Initially, my message is about what I can say to my generation and what they should be doing, and that what they shouldn't be doing is chastising and criticizing right now. Okay. I've talked to some folks, well, they do it. Wait a minute. Hold up. Again, I say with the kids, if we knew so much, why are we still fighting this fight? So let's engage our kids. Let's find out, and they don't like it when we call them youth or kids. Let's, our young men and women, let's engage them, hear what they had, listen, seek to understand, and we'll go from there. And then as they open up, we can share some wisdom with them.
great points, and thank you for a couple reminders there. Not referring to them as the youth, just the younger generation,
Right.
and also that they are onto something. And my own son called me out really much in the same way, because I kind of just went along with the old story that I've kind of been, I don't know if indoctrinated is the right word, but it kind of is, because you just go on and you just let things be, and then next thing you know, it's 2020 and you're
Hmm.
letting everything be okay. And so they're right. They're absolutely right
They
with that.
kind of they woke me. I mean, I consider myself woke anyway, but they got my attention and they're saying some things that need to be said. And so, anyway,
Well, Gay Agdegbalolo, she comes to my mind because she's one of the voices
yes, she is.
that was here in the community from some time ago, and she's there at the lunch counter and she's on that podium for being there. I think that sign says, I may be, my stomach may be empty, but what about your hearts, or
Right.
something like that, and she called about asking for me to do something more. And so I'm going to use my skills. And I've had some people send some videos. So, the older generation can send videos to me so that I can put together so that we can let the younger generation see that they are supported
Hmm.
by people. And so I'm getting a little bit of that and doing a little bit myself. So yeah, we all have work to do in this.
Well,
And
I said in the square that day, and I've been quoted. So when you get quoted, when people start quoting you, I guess you have arrived. But I said to claim your place in history, not to let this moment pass. That you don't want your grandchildren and great grandchildren to have to fight this fight again. And the second time I spoke in Market Square, I quoted one of our ancestors, one of my heroes, Arthur Ashe, who said, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." And that's what I say to everybody right now who would like to see a different world. Start where you are. Doesn't matter. I say this to my wife all the time. You've got to do something. Use what you have and do whatever you can, but you've got to do something. You've got to make your mark on this movement and in this time in history right now.
right now,
Right now.
yeah, another great reminder. Um, um, let's see. Okay, in my gut, I just feel that it is definitely going to be different this time.
Hmm.
But I also think too, and only because of maybe me looking into places like Facebook and seeing the loud, the well, what I can only call the people that are just holding on to another way of being, because I just think that maybe they're afraid that this new way would mean that everything that they thought before wasn't right. So it's a little bit scary. So just
Hmm.
the screams and all that's coming from it. That old, I don't want to call it old, but that energy that's attached to it, I feel that it's going to go away. But because they still hold on to it, I also think that unless a person has a significant emotional event, one that I have, and I'm sure that you have, because we have seen the oppression passed down to us so that we understand what this is about. But a lot of people don't understand it. Do you think that things may have to get worse so for people to wake up? That's kind of how I feel when I see all of the noise that is just in opposition to
Hmm.
this movement. I feel like they still are going to have to get hit hard somewhere for that compassion stream
Hmm.
to pull them from their head to their heart so they can be empathetic to the situation.
Hmm. Yeah. I have used this analogy. I've never given birth, but I have three children, so I've been around birth. And the women in my life tell me that it is incredibly painful. And from my observation, I believe so.
Hmm.
Um, when my wife was in labor, which was induced with my first child, she was not real happy with me. Um, I was not her friend for a while, and was really painful. But anyway, in order for new life, and childbirth is very dangerous. People die, but both children and mothers die in childbirth, and they call it labor, and it's painful. But at the end of that, there's something marvelous. And so I've likened where we are now to giving birth to something, to a new world order. And in order for that to happen, we're going to have some labor. And so will it get worse? Well, I mean, labor tends to intensify as it goes on,
At times it does peak.
and peaks, and it can be long. Some people labor short, some people labor long. And so whatever that means, does it get worse? Well, We're about to try to undo 401 years of stuff in our system. A part of the reason that I think that we didn't do anything, my generation didn't do as much as maybe we could, because we've learned to live with white privilege. And white people have learned to, it's privilege, and so they don't even see it. We've learned to live with black oppression for so long. I mean, I'm going to read this poem to you that I pulled up, but this stuff, you and I have grown up being afraid of the police. Who's supposed to be afraid of the police? I mean, I was taught how to operate in that. That's We've learned to live with that. We know that we have to be 2 or 3 times better than our white counterparts. That's a part of the system. So it's ingrained in us, and we've accepted that. It's kind of like being in the Matrix. I mean, you accept the lie for so long that you don't even know, and something comes along to wake you up, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, here we are. So is it going to have to get worse? Well, it might be a long process. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so ingrained. I've had people tell me when they were in school, they can remember reading in the history book that slaves were happy, right? I mean, this is what they were taught, all right? And so you've got all of these statues and symbols and stuff in logos that has been accepted. Once we start telling the truth about slavery and about lynchings and about what it really is, it's going to be some labor pains. Now, if you call that worse, yeah, but we're going to have to wake up from 400 plus years of oppression and white privilege and all of this stuff. And that process could be painful. It could be painful.
You reminded me. I have a friend who said that someone told her or thought that the slaves got paid.
I want my 40 acres and a mule.
um, we is now a good time because I want to talk about the ancestors and
Okay.
getting back to our spiritual roots. And before we got started, you were going to read this poem, and I said, wait, because
Wait,
I could
okay.
tell this was good because of the energy. So
Right.
if you want to start that whole story again,
Well, I haven't looked at this poem in many years. It was written in the 1990s. I heard it at a conference once. So and it resonated with me. Somebody got up, and before they did their keynote speech, they read this poem, and I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, this is deep. This was 1990. What's that? 30 years,
mm,
right?
it just went by like this. I
Like
mean,
that. And when I
I-
read it to you, so when I was sitting in the parking lot, I said, let me share it. It just popped in my mind
okay,
because it's so relevant. Now, this is 30 years ago, right? And I haven't read it in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty.
okay.
So forgive me, but here we go. It's by Sundiata is his name. It's called Blink Your Eyes. This is 1990 he wrote this. I was on my way to see my woman, but the law said I was on my way through a red light, red light, red light. And if you saw my woman, you could understand I was just being a man. It wasn't about no light. It was about my ride. And if you saw my ride, you could dig that too, you dig? Sunroof, stereo, radio, black leather, bucket seats, sit low, you know. The body's cool, but the tires are worn. Ride when the hard times come, ride when they're gone. In other words, the light was green. I could wake up in the morning without a warning and my world could change. Blink your eyes. All depends. All depends on the skin. All depends on the skin you're living in. Up to the window comes the law with his hand on his gun. What's up? What's happening? I said. I guess that's when I really broke the law. He said, a routine. Step out the car, a routine. Assume the position. Put your hands up in the air. You know the routine, like you just don't care. License and registration. Deep was the night and the light from the North Star on the car door. Deja vu. We've been through this before. Why did you stop me? Somebody had to stop you. I watch the news. You always lose. You're unreliable. That's undeniable. This is serious. You could be dangerous. I could wake up in the morning without a warning, and my world could change. Blink your eyes. All depends. All depends on the skin. All depends on the skin you're living in. New York City, they got laws. Can't no brothers drive outdoors in certain neighborhoods on particular streets near and around certain types of people. They got laws. All depends. All depends on the skin. All depends on the skin you living in.
Mm.
1990. Still living that today, 30 years later. All depends on the skin. You can't ride, you can't jog in the neighborhood, you can't look at houses, you can't you can't go to the store in certain places. The law is this is 30 years later, man. Enough's enough, right?
It is. Enough's enough. How are we going to how we're gonna how we're gonna get beyond this? How we're gonna I can only myself look deep inside and
Right.
and ask myself, what is it that I need to understand differently right now to grow? Because I am, the first 50 years or so of your life, you're trying to figure out who you are. And then the next part is you're trying to figure out what it is that you actually should be, minus the things that you thought you were, because you really weren't those things.
Right.
So now you come to this new phase, and that's where I'm at. Because see, now I understand this thing that's called we are growing, not dying, because those are the two phases of life. You're either growing or you're dying. So when you grow, then you got to figure out what is it that you have to shed to get to the next level. And so, how do we encourage that? How do we inspire others to to do that part, especially tonight specifically with the spiritual connection?
Yeah. Well, the only person I can control is me. And I've always believed that leadership is by example. And so all that I can do is fight the good fight. I said in the market square, I'm looking for the uniters. I'm looking for the yeses. Um, I do that in my sales profession. I'm not interested in the no's. I'm looking for a yes. Yes, we can roll. No, who's next? And so I'm looking to connect with folks who are going where I'm going, who want to make a difference. And I'm out here getting it, and hopefully people will catch my energy. Someone will hear the message, and that something I say will encourage them. But all I can be accountable for at the end of the day is me. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully some folks will join us. I
Yeah.
mean, encourage you to thank you for what you're doing, for being courageous and following the Spirit. We'll finally get back to the Spirit stuff, but you answered the call. So thank you. Um, Somebody broke through. You heard a voice from somewhere.
Yes, yes, yes. And then you'd have to, and for me it was a long time. Okay, what do I do next? And the next thing you know, there's an opportunity to say yes to where I may have said no to before. And
Mhm,
even if it's just a conversation with people who think differently from
mhm,
you, I had to say yes to those conversations.
mhm.
And within those conversations, I was able to talk more, to shed some more light. And I got some
Right.
um, put back on me too, which allows me to find more patience for where people are and how people think about things,
Mhm,
because I think that within all of this, every single one of us are going to have to find some patience in here and allow the person to express themselves, so that it's heard and listened,
mhm,
and to get to the next part
mhm,
together. And sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable, but I
mhm,
think that's the only way that you can move forward. And I also, and just like I want people who don't understand this thing that many people are trying to explain, I also want to encourage those that do understand
mhm,
to maybe not bring all of the energy that's behind, or the passion where it goes into the negative part, because people are listening now.
mhm.
Finally people are listening, and I don't want to discourage those who are close
Right.
enough to make a difference. Now so is
Well,
go ahead.
um, thank you for this program, the Growing Our Spiritual Roots, because I think I would encourage people to be open to the Spirit. I'm not talking about religion now.
Right.
I'm talking about spiritual
Right.
growth. I'm digging these symbols, so I'm checking out what I'm seeing here. But to be open, because I believe this is Jarvis Bailey that we are spiritual beings, and uh, I think it was Dr. King who said, "Truth crushed to the ground will rise again." And so, what I'm saying is that when we begin to speak from this spiritual place of truth, those who are open to spiritual things will receive it. One of the questions you sent me was about favorite movies, and the Matrix series is one of my favorites. And there's a quote in there about maybe Neo wanting to keep waking up from this dream. All in my religious history, okay, um, there's been this gnawing about. Even I was raised in the church, right? Read the Bible religiously around religious people. And of course, our spirituality in the black church was a little bit different than uptown. Okay. So all along, we've taken whatever we've been given and we put our own Pentecostal fervent pace to it. We've done things with it. But all along, there's this something that's always been in the back of my mind, knowing questions about the African connections to my own faith that I'm walking. And as I've grown, I have begun to explore the Nile Valley connections to the Western religions that I practice and opening up all kinds of knowledge to me. But at the end of the day, there is truth that is out there that we can tap into it. And when you begin to speak truth, no matter um, what walk I'm on, if I'm listening in the spirit for truth, it will rise. It will resonate with me. And I think there's some folks, if they open their minds, even folks who may be on the other side of things, if they open their mind to the truths that are around them, um, that we are created equal, that there's a humanity and divinity in all of us, the truths that we are our brother's keepers, those kinds of things that just make spiritual sense, then I think we can get through to even folks who have built those faulty construct. Race is a construct, right? And we've built all of this stuff. But if we can get down to where the truth lies and people are receptive to that, then I think it will help them to even overcome racism that's been inbred and just smushed in them and socialized in them, that they can overcome all of that. And I have to believe that because otherwise, what's the point?
Hmm. Hmm.
Anyway,
You know, sometimes people will respond back after the whole Black Lives Matter business. They respond back, all lives matter. And that's so true, but that's like saying water is wet. I mean, we
yeah,
want to be there. Can you imagine a world if, well, what you said earlier about how we just don't say anything and just kind of like just try to be as comfortable as you can to live in this world and get through it? Can you imagine, like, let's say we are through this, right? And now it's equal because that's all we're really asking for is
right,
equality, right?
right.
So now that we're equal, can you imagine the vibration that would exist when people's mind or heart isn't on oppression or sadness or pain, when they're just truly focusing on something else to move towards? Can you imagine that level of consciousness permeating through humanity, where our
Hmm.
focus would be as humans with
Right,
one another, hand to
right,
hand? I mean, who knows what we could do when we're
right,
not trying to fight each
right,
other on a race issue, so
right,
that we can all truly
right,
be above
right.
black or white and just
Well,
be together.
it's because all lives matter that we now have to say Black Lives Matter. If all lives matter, why is it only Black lives are being lost in the street the way they are? Okay. So, of course, all lives matter. Um, when there is a situation that has to be, we do this in education all the time. All students matter. But if there are students in our class that have deficits, we focus on those students so that we can get them to the level of all students. And so right now, we are at a place where things are happening to black bodies, have been happening at a long time. So we have to separate them out and say that they matter too. Maybe we should say all lives, black lives matter too. Put the also on it, because all lives do matter. But right now, all lives are not in jeopardy, only black lives. So we have to now go back and say, okay, if all lives matter, we've got to take this segment of the population and we've got to lift it so that we can truly say all lives matter. And so people who, I get it. Um, Folks who say, you got to help me understand, about all Black Lives Matter, why we say Black Lives Matter. Well, all you got to do is open your eyes. I mean, if George Floyd's death didn't wake you up to why you have to say Black Lives Matter, then maybe I should just slap you. I mean, saying.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe they just got a little further to go.
You're gonna get some even some messages on that. The preacher talking about slapping somebody.
Look at the audience in the
I'm gonna
background
lay,
over
I'm
there.
gonna lay hands on you, holy hands.
Hey, that's what it was. It's not a slapping.
this glove.
It's a laying hand of
laying-
the type. Okay, okay, all right. I got that.
That was a joke, people. That was a joke.
Well, look at the time. Questions about how about how about you? Is there a favorite scripture, or is there scriptures that like one could use in times like this when you are when someone doesn't understand it? I'm sure Jesus spoke about things to have people understand more. Is there
Well,
something?
yeah, I mean, um, there was a certain group of folks trying to trick Jesus, and one of them asked him a question. He said, "Rabbi, what is the greatest law in the commandments? What is the greatest commandment in the laws?" And Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. On these two hang all the laws and the prophets." And so if we did just that, okay, whatever spirit that we think is guiding our lives, okay, if we seek to know um, that in its fullest expression, for me, it's God, okay? That's my path, all right? And so if I'm focused on that, loving God with my heart, mind, and soul, and seeking to know His way, to know God's way. And if I'm loving my neighbor as myself, I'm fulfilling all the laws.
Absolutely.
If we just did that, if we grew our spiritual roots, if we focused on growing our spiritual roots and we loved one another,
That's it. In the
that
story.
vibration, I mean, what else? I mean, there's a someone told me that in all the religions there's something equivalent to the golden rule in every religion, major and otherwise.
Mhm.
You know, just about treating others as you would have them treat yourself. That the golden rule is a rule that applies across
Across the board, and
across the
all of
board,
them.
right? Loving neighbors. I mean, so that's a favorite scripture. There's all kinds of scriptures
Right.
that I like, but I mean that comes to mind
Okay. That's
because
that's
that's the
my
greatest.
that's my favorite too.
See that?
I ended every show. I ended with that one.
Do you really?
I do.
I did not know that.
Yep. Yep.
See?
That's the one. Yep. That's the
Wow.
one. I'll have to do it again tonight. Okay. How about books? Do you have any favorite books that you maybe a top book or two that has?
Well, it comes and goes. As an educator, I try to read something with every class, with not every class. Every year, I try to read a book with some class in school. This year we had a short year, but I think last year I read Of Mice and Men. I don't know what grade that was. And the year before that, I think I read Letters to Maury. When I was at the middle school last, I read, oh gosh, The Thief Lord, The Giver. I mean, I try to, so I can have something to talk to the kids about. Again,
Okay.
love and respect. Right now, I read a lot of nonfiction just for my own personal edification. I'm reading The Seven Levels of Communication by Michael Mayer.
Okay.
So that's what's open. Matter of fact, it's in my bag right now because
Okay.
if I had downtime, I'm trying to finish it because it's a really good book. You probably have read it. It's about how to turn relationships into referrals, and I'm moving into real estate in a major. I love real estate. Um, you and I talked before, and I said that um, one of my limiting beliefs that I had to come to overcome was what other people thought.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that until I began to explore what was limiting me, if anything. And I've gotten to the point where um, I don't really care what people think. I guess I'm at that age.
It
And
ain't none of your business
they,
what they think, right?
that's right. And they're probably not even think. The sad thing is that they're probably not even thinking about me, right? So, but I've always loved business and I've always loved real estate. But because I've been involved in education and pastoring and doing other things, and just always kind of that was just always business. I kind of just put it to the side. But I absolutely love it. I love sales. I mean, I do, and I'm good at it. And so I just said, you know what? You asked me a question about passion. When I'm doing real estate, I'm passionate
Okay.
because it's where your giftedness and what you enjoy kind of come together. It's kind of an intersection. So you can see I'm getting excited when I talk about it, right? Because I love helping people. I just love everything about it for some reason. Don't know why, um, but I don't know. We're talking about books,
No,
and
no,
that's
all of it. It's good because
yeah.
my next question is going to be like, what's your favorite thing to do? Have you binged any shows on TV or
I
anything
did
like
binge a
this?
show, and I can't even remember the name of it, and they took it off. But so,
Okay, all right.
um, I my favorite thing to do is where I get my strength is and a place to think is out in nature. I love to fly kites, and so when we go to the beach, I will either get up early in the morning when there's nobody on the beach, and I'll go fly a kite,
Huh,
or I'll wait until things start to die down, and I'll go and do some kite. I love flying kites.
okay,
So yeah.
that's fun. Do you have a word that comes to mind for you to help get clear or anything like that?
Um. Well, I love solitude.
Okay.
What people may misinterpret about me is they think I am a total extrovert, and I tend to be extroverted, but it can be deceiving because, and I do get energy when I'm around people, but you know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Just as much as I love to be around people, I also love as much to be alone.
Hmm.
And so if I can get I mean, me, just solitude by myself, nobody in the house. Sometimes I'll go to the park just to be alone with my own thoughts.
I got you there.
And so I guess two words: grace and peace. I pretty much sign all of my documents and letters with grace and peace. I love those two words. Grace is that space where we have acceptance, where we forgive. You know, we have grace with folks. And then I'm just a person of peace. I'm a peaceful uh, kind of guy. I love shalom. I love the quietness and the reflection time that I'm able to get. So
Mm.
yeah.
Speaking of grace, what are you more so grateful for?
Uh, family.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm a family guy.
okay, all right,
Yeah, that's the crown jewel. You know.
good.
Yeah.
Word of the day is faith. And it says, and I thought it was spot on for tonight. So I just want to read that a little bit. I am blessed with rightly directed faith. I have faith that is never in question. What may be in question, however, is where that faith is placed. Words of doubt, fear, worry signify negative faith and are the opposite of positive, hopeful expectation. I catch myself and refocus my energy into affirmative, constructive thinking. I center myself and remember that with God, all things are possible. When I notice improved circumstances, my faith continues to build. But even when I do not see evidence, I still believe. If I am tempted to doubt, I resolve to keep the faith. I keep my mind open to possibility thinking and envision all good things. I believe in the love, the activity, and the presence of God in all situations. I am continuously blessed with rightly directed faith. Jesus said to him, if you are able, all things can be done for the one who believes. Mark 9:23.
I want to clarify one thing or expand. I said family, I'm grateful to. And I am. I'm grateful for family. But I want to be really clear because I want to shout out my queen, my wife. I got wonderful children. But I want to say this, that the reason I can do lots of the things that I do, that I can be in the street, that I can be the fullest expression of myself, is because I know at the end of the day, I have a loving wife that I can go home to. And that makes everything all right. Y'all can beat me up. You can say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do. When I leave here, there's a woman at home that's going to open her arms and say, I got you, boo.
Oh,
And so that seriously, that gives me the strength that's the one thing. I mean, that's the warrior in me. I will fight, I will slay dragons because my queen is at home. And when I finish, when I'm done, all scarred up, I can go home and everything is peace and harmony. And I mean, we have our disagreements. I mean, we're a normal married couple, but the love of a family, of a loving wife, especially, makes a person, a fella, woman, whatever, have the ability to do all kinds of extraordinary, for me, all kinds of extraordinary stuff. Because at the end of the day, I got that. That's 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 real.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
All right, Monica.
that's right. You know the deal.
Well, time is up right now.
Okay.
I could talk more about this. Again, thank you for the last minute coming through for this. This is beautiful. I hope everybody got some good stuff out of this tonight. Um, again, thank you. And I will also say how I like to end every night, like what you've already said, by being the way of Luke 10:27, is to seek God first. You should always seek God. That's Luke 17:21. But 10:27 is to love God with everything, with your mind, your heart, your soul, your everything. And the second commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. Upon those two hang it all the law, all the prophet. So thank you for tuning in. Next week, we'll have another special guest. I think she's out in the hallway right now, getting ready to meet with me. Thank you all. Namaste.